following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Welcome into a Tuesday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. There we go. There's our background. What's up? Maurice Patton, the Hall of Famer, hanging out with us here on a Tuesday. Mo, what's going on, man?
It's Tuesday, man. Just making my way through the week. You know how it goes.
It's
Tuesday. Lot to get ready for. Tuesday's kind of our off day in terms of the paper and that kind of thing, but there's still a lot going on. So
yeah, it's the day that we can kind of take a break from really worrying about getting anything ready for at least the print edition, right? So there's that. We've got a lot to get into today. We continue our college football previews with Conference USA today, Mo, and we get to kind of piggyback off of that with our friend Chip Walters, who joins us each and every Tuesday to talk a little MTSU athletics, not just football. He does a little bit of everything. And it's Top 5 Tuesday, and today, Top 5 most impactful suspensions in pro sports history. Should be good.
Should be fun.
I got a feeling it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, as much fun as we're going to have today, I think there's been a lot of fun had for those covering Major League Baseball. And our top story or first pitch for today is the trade deadline has gotten crazy. Scrolling through Twitter, as we are wont to do, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. I'm still a little confused as to where we stand in the Juan Soto negotiations, but apparently a deal was done that included Juan Soto and Josh Bell from the Nationals going to San Diego, and one of the pieces in return would have been former Independent star Robert Hassel III. And that seemed like a done deal until Padres first baseman Eric Hosmer apparently said, "Hey, wait a minute. Y'all trying to include me in this deal, and I ain't having it. I've got a no trade clause, and I don't want to go to Washington." Hey, understandable.
For more than one reason, but yeah.
And so he invokes his no trade clause, which kind of throws a wrench into everything. I've not seen anything from any official sources saying that the deal is done at this point. So I don't know what exactly, I don't even know where we stand.
I'm trying to get to the Padres Twitter account.
Right. That's what I was trying to do earlier. There was nothing there that made a lot of sense. I mean, the obvious choice would be, check out friend of the show, Jeff Passan.
There you go. I've been monitoring Jeff Passan and Ken Rosenthal. Certainly I was late last night. The last thing from the Padres is adding Josh Hader to the Major League roster. That was 38 minutes ago. So let's see. Let's scroll a little bit further down. Nothing reflecting a Juan Soto related move at this point, which means nothing reflecting a Robert Hassel III related move at this point.
Is kind of where that's kind of what I'm really focusing on here is where does Hassel end up? Obviously, he's one of the top Padres prospects, and you would assume that if you're going to get a Juan Soto type, you're going to have to give up one of your top prospects, and Hassel would certainly be one of those. San Diego will be paying a significant portion of the $44 million or so remaining on Eric Hosmer's contract per sources, as he is headed to the Red Sox. And
says who?
Says Jeff Passan.
Okay. All right. If Jeff Passan's saying it, then I feel pretty good about it.
100%. And so it looks like now, again, there isn't any real news. Okay. 2 hours ago, he had been informed he was being traded, but that doesn't mean anything.
Hosmer or Soto?
Yeah. Cool. Now, the Padres apparently knew that Hosmer had Washington on his no-trade list and could invoke it. The point Passan says the point Passan says is the deal's going to happen either way. And here's the thing, trade deadline gets a little crazy sometimes. And Joey Gallo headed to LA is a little odd. I certainly thought the Braves might be in on
Gallo.
On Gallo, he just kind of fits the mold that AA.
I don't know though, man. I think Gallo's a little too much swing and miss for this organization.
Everybody in this organization swings and misses. The strikeout rate is pretty high among this team, so adding more is probably not ideal.
I'd be interested to know where they land in terms of that.
Yeah,
stat.
I'm not sure, but curious, as Gallo headed to LA, what exactly does it work? Does that do for them? I mean, does
I
it
have
just
no idea.
Give them a little bit of.
I truly have no idea. I mean, the Dodgers have been.
The Atlanta Braves are 28 out of 30 teams in the national or in the major league. Yes, in major leagues, they are the 28th worst strikeout team for this season.
That would make them the fourth best, right?
No, third best.
Third
best.
No.
They have 9.2 strikeouts per game. The Los Angeles Angels strike out more than anybody at 9.6. The Atlanta Braves are 28th out of 30. Adding Joey Gallo to that probably makes them the worst team in the league.
Yeah. They strike out basically 1 in every 4 somethings because
that's not ideal.
I'm looking at MLB team strikeout percentage. Now, I don't know if that's percentage of outs or if it's percentage of at bats or what exactly that is, but they are 24.7. Pittsburgh is 25.7. The Angels are 26.2. Now, again,
God, that's bad.
I don't know if that's of their outs, a quarter of them are by strikeouts, or of their at bats, a quarter of them are by strikeouts.
It's probably outs. If I had to guess, it's outs. Because they strike out 9 times a game. Well, that's 1 out of 3 outs. Mm-hmm. So I guess that could be at bats. 1 out of every 4 at bats.
Now, Cleveland has the best strikeout percentage at 18.5. So, I mean,
and they only strike out 6.9, basically 7 strikeouts a game.
So you're talking about 2 more strikeouts separating first from third from last.
Well, from last, really. I mean, you're talking 2.5.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
2 1/4 from the Braves. So again, adding Joey Gallo doesn't help that. So
bottom line,
there you go.
So again, as I was saying, his swing and miss is a little much for this team.
No doubt.
Anyway, waiting on the Nationals and the Padres, I guess.
What is this trade deadline situation for? I guess it's, this is kind of it. It's a 6 p.m. Eastern deadline, so we got until 5 o'clock.
Okay, so we got till 5, so we're not going to know before
5.
we get off the air.
Probably. Well, we might know before we get off the air, but it won't be because it happened at the last minute.
Yeah.
We'll get into the Braves trades later in the show, but the Braves made a few moves, and here's the thing: they were ho hum, but so were last year's. So
and again, I'm not trying to be contrary or counter you or anything like that, but there's one move that I don't think is very ho hum at all.
Addition by subtraction.
Yeah. I mean,
if we'd have got a box of baseballs, we would have won that trade. That's all I'm saying.
If we'd gotten a baseball, we'd have won that trade to make up for the ones that have been lost.
No question. But yeah, we'll get into the Braves a little bit later as well. So anyway, let's I'll tell you what, Mo, we need to get into our rundown here.
Yesterday's results, today's schedule.
Yeah, yesterday's results, today's schedule, all of that coming your way right now on the rundown. This is the rundown.
In Monday's pro baseball results, Cincinnati defeated the Miami Marlins 3-1. It was the Mets 7, the Nationals 3. Did Soto play in that game? I don't know. Minnesota defeated Detroit 5-3 in 10 innings, much to Brady McAtamney's chagrin, I'm sure.
Well, him and the rest of the Tiger fans in Spring Hill.
There we go. Yeah.
Today's schedule, the Rockies and Padres throughout the first pitch at 3:10. You can see it on ESPN Plus. It's the only reason I included it here. And then the Reds are at the Marlins. That's a 5:40 start. The Brewers will be at Pittsburgh, 6:05. You can see them.
At 6:20 on Bally Sports South, the Atlanta Braves will host the Philadelphia Phillies. 6:45, Chicago Cubs are at St. Louis. And at 8:45 on TBS, the Dodgers visit San Francisco.
Now, will Joey Gallo be in LA for that or in San Francisco for that? That would be the question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it's not that far of a flight from New York to LA, right? Just as far as you can go, just about. It's at least a nonstop. I'm sure there's a nonstop flight from New York to LA, right?
At least one.
At least one.
What's the WNBA schedule, Chris?
The WNBA schedule is Phoenix at Connecticut, 6 o'clock tonight on NBA TV. The Los Angeles Sparks are at New York, 6 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. On Facebook, you can watch Las Vegas and Washington at 6. And then at 8, the second part of a doubleheader, Dallas at Chicago on CBS Sports Network at 8 o'clock.
MLS Major League Soccer tonight, doubleheader on ESPN Plus at 6:30. Colorado is at the New York Red Bulls, and at 9 o'clock, the Seattle Sounders FC take on Dallas.
All right, that's going to take care of today's rundown. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will be joined by Eric Henry of SB Nation. So stick around here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be right back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org, or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. Chris Yao alongside Mo Patton, the Hall of Famer. Glad to be with you here on this Tuesday edition as we are counting down the days to college football, Mo. We have college football this month. Matter of fact, here including a Middle Tennessee team anyway. But we start today with a little Conference USA action as we get a chance to talk to Eric Henry of SB Nation. Eric, what's going on, man?
Good afternoon, fellas. How is it going? It's always a pleasure to be on, and pleasure to be on the part of the country, part of the state of Tennessee that I'm very fond of, in Middle Tennessee. Obviously, covering Conference USA, I spend plenty of time, whether it's getting up there to cover Western Kentucky, about an hour. What's that? An hour northwest of you guys, and of course, Middle Tennessee. So.
Yeah. What is it?
It's about an hour and 15 minutes, depending on traffic and construction on 65 North. I can tell you how far it is from Murfreesboro. It's 100 miles.
It's 100 miles.
100 miles
Of hate.
They hate every bit of it.
Yes. That's what we call the rivalry over here, Eric, between Western Kentucky and MTSU as an MTSU graduate. So I'm
very familiar with the 100 miles of hate. So no doubt
okay,
about that.
Good. So without further ado, then, what are your thoughts? What are you feeling about Western and Middle and some of these other folks as we head into this season?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can start with, I'll play to the home crowd, start with Middle Tennessee State. I think one of the things that's been interesting, one of my biggest observations in covering Conference USA, and specifically cover FIU, but the entire league, is with Rick Stockstill's club, they always seem to exceed expectations when you're not expecting it, right? So you look at last year, you're thinking, okay, they're moving on from the Asher O'Hara era, one that was really prolific in terms of offensive, numbers, but didn't exactly put up the amount of wins we would have liked in the win column. They go to Brent Dearman, and you're thinking you're going to see a shift away. And we spoke to Rick Stockstill this time last year. He talked about wanting to develop the run game, specifically from the running backs. Middle Tennessee hasn't had a rusher run for more than, I believe it's over 515 yards since 2016, Itavis Mathers. Shaitan Mobley's been the back who's had the most yards, and that was something like 600 yards 4 or 5 years ago. So he talks about that, and then, of course, you get the quarterback, Bailey Hockman from NC State. He ends up leaving the program a few games in, and they're back to square one in between Chase Cunningham and Nick Vattiato. And, they make the bowl game and kind of out of nowhere. So to transition to this year, I think they're kind of in the same circumstances in the sense of the quarterback competition, who's going to come out, and for all intents and purposes, it does appear if it's going to be Chase Cunningham. But that offensive consistency, you bring a guy back like Jalen Lane, who's getting some pub from some of the national publications. Of course, Jordan Ferguson, one of the top defensive players in all of Conference USA. You lose Greg Great and Reed Blankenship, but you do bring back a couple of guys on the defensive side of the ball. But that running game, where's it going to come from? And that was, again, a topic of conversation for Rick Stockstill. So we'll see what happens there. And then really quickly on Western Kentucky, when you go up to Bowling Green and talk with Tyson Helton, one of the things that really impressed me about Coach Helton, we had him on our SB Nation Conference USA podcast earlier this year, and he talked about the fact that he doesn't need to be the smartest guy in the room. And that really stuck with me as someone who, A, comes from a coaching family, and B, as a head coach, you kind of want to have your hands in top of everything. And I mention that, guys, because his willingness to shift from a completely different offense in 2020, one that was led by Tyrell Pigram, more of a running quarterback, and then to shift to Bailey Zappi, and anyone who follows college football knows the success that he had, setting the NCAA record for passing touchdowns in a year. And they're going to try to duplicate that. Not very many teams are able to bring in a quarterback who's thrown for over 11,000 yards and 80 touchdowns in his career to start, to be their starting quarterback. And they have that with Jarrett Dagey. So really keep an eye on the tops as far as how they'll be able to transition, but they've got a really steady signal caller at the helm.
Eric, man, as a middle grad, as a middle football follower, you really hit the nail on the head, because the run game away from the quarterback has really been a concern as you watch that team for the last few years, and it doesn't sound like this year is going to be any different. But we, as you talk about Western and Dagey coming in, I guess when you put an offense on the field like Western did last year, you make yourself very attractive to guys that want to throw the ball.
No doubt about it. And again, that's really what surprised me is a guy like Tyson Helton. He had his offensive philosophy that he really came in and led them to a bowl game in 2019. Mm-hmm. If memory serves me correct, I know it's his first year. I'm trying to put together that COVID years that got me all thrown off. But my point is, he comes in, he brings in Zach Kittley from Texas Tech, and anyone knows about that, history of Texas Tech, Red Raider offensive pedigree, even going back to Cliff Kingsbury, and you're going to get that air raid offense. Kittley leaves. Ironically goes back to his alma mater and takes over the OC job. And then he brings in another offensive corner, he being Helton, in continuing that offense. So really seeing that, hey, I can get ahead of the curve, bring in an offense that's totally a shift from maybe what I may be used to. And as you talked about, not only is it going to attract signal callers, they've signed a 3-star recruit, a 3-star quarterback recruit last year, and a 4-star quarterback recruit this year, but also receivers, guys who want to catch 70, 80 balls and get the attention of the NFL scouts. So it's really served them well. And very sneakily, they've run the ball fairly well in that offense. So just an offensive philosophy as a whole for Western, it's really worked, and we'll see how it works in 2022.
Speaking here with Eric Henry of SB Nation Underdog Dynasty, covers FIU for them, but also most of the folks around Conference USA, and this is a new look Conference USA, because there are several teams who are not in Conference USA anymore, and I think that's got to be a little bit different for as far as when you are preparing as a journalist, but also when these coaches are preparing for their schedule.
Yeah, well, I will say this, for the time being, you only lose 3. And I say only in air quotes, right? Because obviously Conference USA, they love to have Southern Miss, Marshall, and Old Dominion back. But in terms of prepping for 2022, it's, an 11-team league. All 11 teams were here last year. So in terms from a preparation perspective, it's not too much of a change. Now, obviously, going forward in 23, you're going to bring in the programs, most notably Liberty, and that's going to be a shift. But
I'm sorry, most notably who?
Liberty. I
think you forgot Jacksonville State.
So. Well, I apologise. I
I'm
did
a
not
JSU
know.
grad. Sorry.
I apologize. I did not know I was walking into that with you. Hey,
no, you're
listen,
good.
The Gamecocks came down to Miami 2 years ago, right? Was that 2020 and got an FBS win? Is that
and
correct?
won in
2020.
Yeah.
My memory serves me correct. I've been covering the Panthers for 5 years, so I've got all the respect in the world for the folks there in Jacksonville, Alabama. But no, they'll bring in a few programs who will transition into in Conference USA, and again, like to your point in terms of preparation, that'll be something in 23. But in terms of the league, I'll spin it forward. We spoke with Conference Commissioner Judy McLeod at Conference USA Media Days last week. And one of the things that she talked about, emphasized, is she felt that this league, when I asked her specifically, hey, Judy, are you worried about the fact that the Sun Belt has a very regional league? You got most of the teams in the Sun Belt right now it's a max 4 or 5 hour drive for most of those fan bases to hop in a car and go see a game here or there, right? You know, you're going to get a lot of rivalry and trash talk between those fan bases. So I asked her, I said, hey, is it a concern that in terms of the regionality of your league, you now have the furthest team being Miami, at least furthest south, and then of course you go up to Lynchburg, and then you're going all the way west to, you know, Las Cruces, New Mexico, in terms of New Mexico State. And she felt that, hey, you know, when you look at it, all things considered, the league is a little more condensed as far as Jacksonville State, Sam Houston State, bringing in New Mexico State, just as far as that cluster, and then keeping Louisiana Tech and others there. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, as far as coaches prepping, you know how it is. And I hate to sound like coach speak, but they're all worried about the 22 schedule. And I think they'll worry about 23 when that rolls around.
And as you worry about the 22 schedule, Eric Henry with SB Nation's Underdog Dynasty, how or what, I guess, does UTSA do for an encore?
That is a phenomenal question. You know, when it comes to the Roadrunners, they have arguably the top offensive player in Conference USA returning in quarterback Frank Harris, and arguably the top defensive player in Conference USA returning in Rashad Wisdom. And even though they lose Sincere McCormick, they bring in a guy like Traylon Smith from Arkansas, who has been a starter, kind of a starter in this new era of football, right? A guy who platoons, you're not going to have a guy who's going to have 30, 35 carries, but a very experienced back from Arkansas who can come in and fill that role. You still have Zachary Franklin, an excellent offensive line, excellent special teams. So I say all that to say, when you ask me what do they do for an encore, there's no reason to think that they won't be in the conference title game this year. They were the preseason media pick by, us media folks to be the top team in Conference USA. And I would concur in that assessment. Just when you look at their schedule and again, the talent returning, Frank Harris, in my mind, one of the top dual threats in the nation. And there's no reason to think that Jeff Traylor, he's got his 10-year deal. He's locked up. He doesn't have to worry about, will he go to a P5? So they're in a great situation for Lisa Campos and company down in San Antonio.
Well, were you as shocked at Traylor signing a 10-year deal with UTSA? I mean, he was one of the hottest coaches in the country last year. Did that take you by surprise?
I do not remember which game it was last year, but I was in a press box when that news broke. And I was like, whoa, definitely stunned. At the years and B, the dollar figure. But I guess, you know what, to flip it forward, they'd already had the announcement / agreement that they were heading to the American. So, for schools like UAB, for schools like UTSA, their financial budget was going to improve. And at least that could put Jeff Traylor on par with some of the top group of 5 coaches in terms of pay, guys like Gus Malzahn and others, Brian Harsin, et cetera. So, or Brian Harsin when he was at Boise State. But the other factor I think you have to account for, and Jeff Traylor's talked about this, he is a Texas guy through and through. And I think, I don't want to speak for him, but I think it really would have had to have been one of those premier P5 Texas jobs, which I thought Texas Tech, as you all said, Texas State, Texas Tech was going to be that landing spot for him. But hey, the fact that they're able to get him in a place where he can be comfortable, Jeff Traylor, if you ever see him in person, especially in the state of Texas, he walks around like he is the man. And he walked into Conference USA media days, just shaking hands and kissing babies. And I think there's a level of comfort that, hey, he can build something in UTSA. They've got the new facilities in place. And 4, 5, 6 years down the road, maybe he wants to revisit that, he can. But when you look at it, all things considered, it does make some sense given his background.
And there's worse places to be than San Antonio.
Have you been to the Riverwalk?
Exactly. You mentioned UAB. Obviously, they've got a little. They're in a little bit of flux with Bill Clark stepping down earlier this summer. Voted second in the preseason predicted order of finish. 8 first place votes to UTSA's 14. How do you see Clark's departure impacting that team this year and that program?
Pretty simply, with offensive coordinator or former offensive coordinator Bryant Vincent taking over, if you've watched any UAB football over the past 3-4 years, you know that was a run-first offense, and rightfully so, with guys like Spencer Brown and now 1,300-yard rusher Dwayne McBride returning. But secondly, it was a boom or bust passing offense. And what I mean by that quite simply is this. If you look at their yards per attempt, they always are among the tops in Conference USA and amongst the tops in FBS football with somewhere around 9 to 9.5, 9.6, 9.7 yards per attempt. You look at their receivers, Trey Shropshire, who's returning this year. He led FBS football with 25 yards per reception. They always have a guy, you go back to Austin Watkins and others in previous years, who are catching balls downfield. I think what you're going to see now with Bryant Vincent taking over is you'll still have your bread and butter be that rushing game. It has to be with Dwayne McBride and Jermaine Brown Jr. there. But I think you're going to see a little bit more of an emphasis on the passing game. And maybe, just maybe, everything won't be run 20 yards downfield, but maybe you'll see a little bit more of that underneath an intermediate passing game take over as well. And most importantly for UAB fans and for UAB as a program, that defense has got to be there. I mean, that's been one of the top defenses in Group of 5 football over the past 4 years, and that shouldn't be any different with some of the guys they have returning this year.
Yeah, but Bill Clark is the X factor in that defense and always has been, always will be. I think that's got to be, that's your biggest concern if you're a UAB fan. And I know most of my folks who are listening down in Alabama are certainly rooting for UAB to continue their success. But looking forward to this Conference USA football season, Eric, and we appreciate you taking some time with us to kind of break it down and let us know what's going on. And we thank you, and we certainly wouldn't have gotten as much information otherwise. So I appreciate you, man.
Not a problem, guys. Anytime.
All right. That's Eric Henry of SB Nation and Underdog Dynasty here on Main Street Sports today. Mo,
Chris,
it's all about trying to figure it out. Right? Just figure out what's going to happen. What, 3-4 weeks from now?
It's not very far off. That's for sure.
It's certainly not very far off. Some interesting NFL news came out today. More interesting than the news was the timing of the release of the news. So, since the NFL tried to bury it, we're going to talk about it. How's that?
I like that.
So let's do that on the other side of the break here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. We will be right back after this. Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao, Mo Patton here with you on this Tuesday, and We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Mo, like I said, the NFL thought it was going to be sneaky.
That Tuesday news dump, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they decided, hey, they're talking about that Juan Soto trade. So
I didn't know the NFL was based in DC.
And all I know is everybody on Twitter is worried about the Major League Baseball right now. So let's drop this bomb regarding the Dolphins. And I mean, I'm sure there's some Brian Flores questions still out there, and yeah, this has answers. Now, whether they're the accurate answers to those questions, that remains to be seen, and you can draw your own conclusions. But essentially, the NFL said no. The Dolphins, despite there having been a conversation where apparently in differing viewpoints and differing folks' opinions, $100,000 per game lost was said in a meeting that included Brian Flores.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL determined that should have never been taken as a serious offer.
Even though it was made by the owner of the team.
According to them, it was, according to everybody that they interviewed, I guess, other than Brian Flores, it was a joke. Oh, he was just joking. Okay, well, maybe he was, but that doesn't discount the fact that you said it. And apparently, at numerous times to different people in the organization, a Dolphins executive, and I guess I need to pull up his name here because I failed to do that before we got back, but a Dolphins executive was told, let's see here, that the Dolphins draft position was more important than winning in 2020 or in 2019. So this was Mr. Ross, and I guess that's
the owner, Stephen Ross.
Yes, Stephen Ross is, who has been suspended, by the way, said that was more important in 2019 than the win-loss record. It was said one time in front of Coach Flores. He sent an email, said, "Hey, I'm concerned about this. I don't like this." And so it was never said in front of him again, according to this document. So what we're hearing, or what has happened, is that the Dolphins will forfeit their first-round pick in 2023, their third-round pick in 2024. Stephen Ross has been suspended through October 17th, in which he cannot be present at the facility, cannot represent the club in any events, and may not attend any league meeting prior to the annual meeting in 2023. He has also been removed from any league committees indefinitely and was fined $1.5 million. Bruce Bill, who is the vice chairman and limited partner of the Dolphins, may not attend league meetings for the remainder of the 2022 season and has been fined $500,000. So there you go. Those are the reprimand right there.
Now, is that specifically for the quote tanking allegations? Because it was kind of a good news, bad news situation for the Dolphins while there were no,
the NFL concluded that no tanking took place. They got fined because they tampered with Tom Brady and Sean Payton.
Okay. So that's what these sanctions are for.
The sanctions come after in 2019/2020, while Tom Brady was still a member of the New England Patriots, the Dolphins and we heard this last year, right? We heard that Brady was retiring so that he could come play for the Dolphins and Sean Payton would be his coach, right? No. That's not what was going on. What people were hearing is actually what happened in 2019. So we all knew that Peyton and Brady wanted to be together. They were coming to Miami, except that the Dolphins didn't ask for permission to talk to Sean Payton, and Tom Brady was still under contract with the New England Patriots when these conversations took place. And that impermissible communication is what got them sanctioned.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. And as you said, you can see why the NFL and the Dolphins might try to kind of slide that by on MLB trade deadline day, but it's there's a lot to unpack there.
There is a lot to unpack. And again, that's the thing, is we're sitting here, in the middle of Major League Baseball's trade deadline now, talking about the Miami Dolphins situation from 2 years ago,
right?
3 years ago. And look, the Dolphins got what they wanted. They're gonna lose a first round draft pick. They're gonna lose a third round draft pick. But all in all, they got what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
They got the team they want now. They feel like they feel like they're solid right now. And here, and you're kind of leveraging your future for the present, I guess. Mm-hmm. How does this impact them? Obviously, there's no coaching issues. I mean, the owner can't go to meetings. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to know what Brian Flores thinks about all this. And maybe at some point we will. But
I would love to hear Brian Flores' comments on the fact that the NFL found no evidence of tanking. Look, they're not going to tell you if they found evidence of tanking. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I think that'd be a tough admission for the NFL to make. But for that same reason, it kind of leads you to kind of look at them askew, like what kind of, investigation did you perform to come up with this?
We have investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing.
No. There you go.
That's kind of where we're at here. Look, quote from Roger Goodell: "Every club is expected to make a good faith effort to win every game. The integrity of the game and the public confidence in professional football demand no less." AKA, also, can you imagine what would happen to the betting situation if it were confirmed that a team was tanking it at any point and was paying their coach to lose games?
Absolutely. I mean, that's that there's a lot of dominoes behind that the NFL is really trying to keep from getting kicked over, I think. And it's as we've said on here on other situations, the optics aren't very good at all as far as that goes. But I just don't know that these findings make you think anything different.
Certainly doesn't to me. I'm not saying that they did tank. I don't think Brian Flores would have tanked.
I don't think Brian Flores would have tanked.
I think that's the thing.
I think the tanking would have come in terms of what players were available to Brian Flores necessarily. I don't think Brian Flores is going to go out on any given Sunday and not try to win a ball game.
Right.
With what he's got at his disposal. I
mean, and specifically in a world where, black head coaches are so few and far between, you can't afford to tank. And then I guess either way, he got fired, so it didn't matter. I mean, that's the thing is he thought, you feel like, well, if I don't go out there and perform, I'm going to get fired. Well, if you don't do what they say, remember, it never gets any bigger than the man that signs your paycheck.
So there you go.
There you go. Anyway, NFL bomb. We were not going to let it go untold. Sorry, NFL.
I'm sure
Main Street Sports today is on to you.
And we're on top of it.
We are. All right. We are going to take another break. When we come back, let's talk a little Braves baseball. Got plenty to get to. So let's get right into it. Right here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Back after this. This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee sports editor, 3-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
Other guy in Wham married the best looking girl, Bananarama, so other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
Are you in a game without a crowd?
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today. Mo, did you have something for halftime?
No. I'm fine.
Okay.
I was just confirming. No, I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah, unfortunately, we went I say unfortunately. Fortunately, we were able to keep Eric Henry a little longer than we normally would. So
yeah, that was outstanding. That was good stuff from him, man. I enjoyed that. We need to try to check in with him again as the season progresses.
Yes, absolutely. No question there. Looking forward to what's coming for the Atlanta Braves. It does appear that Juan Soto, though, has been traded officially.
Okay.
And let's see here. We'll go see Jeff Passan. The Phillies
doesn't have it.
The Phillies have acquired right-hander David Robertson from the Cubs. Brandon Marsh headed to the Phillies from the Angels, which is weird, but okay. Luke Voigt is headed to Washington to finalize the Juan Soto deal.
I guess in place of the no trade clause having Eric Hosmer, another first baseman. And I guess Washington felt like they had to get a first baseman back since they're including Josh Bell in that trade.
Right. They needed a first baseman. So I guess Voigt fills some sort of hole for them. But again, those are blockbuster trades. The Braves trades, not so much blockbuster.
They saved some blocks. They didn't bust any, but I think the Braves did what Alex Anthopoulos felt like they needed to do, and I'd say it, filled some voids. I'll allow you to go ahead and run those down because I got something to say.
Well, let's first talk about the keeping the block. And that is Austin Riley.
That's a big part of the block, man.
10-year deal, $212 million. Is that correct?
And it was just announced here in the last few minutes, which it was purely a formality, but the National League Player of the Month for July is Atlanta Braves third baseman Austin Riley. So,
yeah, there was no way anybody else was winning that. And if they had, they should just quit giving it.
I don't know who was second.
And whoever it wasn't close. I can tell
Right.
you that. Yeah. So you see here, Austin Riley has had a huge bat, especially this month. He's put himself into the MVP conversation with his July performance, and hasn't been phenomenal with his glove, but has certainly been as good as you can. He's an average. He's an average third baseman, and I'll take an average third baseman who hits like he does.
I think he has the capability of being better than average defensively, to be honest. I mean,
sure.
I don't think he's been bad defensively by any stretch of the imagination. And I think he's shown flashes of being really good. And I think he's going to be really good over there over the next few years.
Oh,
but his bat certainly doesn't hurt.
I mean, and that's what's going to be his calling card for the Atlanta Braves, at least for the next 10 years. It appears
clearly,
because he hit what 314, or he's hitting 314 for the year, or is that no? In his last 162, he's hitting 314, 45 homers, 125 RBIs, and slugging basically 600, 599 in his last 162.
Is that good?
That seems good.
That seems good. Yeah.
So there you go. Now, the other trades, which again, like you said, Mo, the ho hum is the return. And that is here you see Jake, is it Odorizzi?
Odorizzi.
I like
Odorizzi. No T.
Jake Odorizzi and Robbie Grossman. Odorizzi coming over, a starting pitcher from the Houston Astros. Grossman, who played outfield for the Detroit Tigers. Or at least that's what I'm told.
Yes.
No one knows.
Well,
play center field for the Tigers or not.
We should have asked Jeff Passan when we had him on.
But the thing is, what you're giving away
literally
is left-handed reliever Will Smith.
Will Smith going to the Astros, and I'm telling you, I wish I or someone could have been on the telephone for that conversation, because I don't know what it is that you say to a major league general manager to convince him that Will Smith is a viable major league reliever.
Sir, you show him the video of the World Series last year.
Of the World Series in October of 2021.
That's correct.
And you make sure he doesn't, and you make sure he doesn't see anything of the 2022 season, right?
Hey, they're not worried. They're not watching us on TV. They're watching their team. They saw him up close and personal, baby.
Well, there you go. That is true. And
that's
they
all
did
I'm saying.
See him. They did see him up close and personal for 6 games.
0.000 ERA, 6 saves.
Yeah.
11 innings pitched.
0 earned runs.
0
runs, I think.
0 runs, period.
Yeah, earned or otherwise. Yeah. I guess.
There you go. I mean, that's where you're sitting. And you gave up Kevin Anglin for Robbie
I don't
Grossman?
think it's Kevin Anglin. I think NBA basketball folks they're good. I don't think it's Kevin. I think it's Chris.
That's what I
with
mean.
a K.
See,
Yeah.
it is. It's Chris. It was a K.
Yeah.
Sorry, I guess Kevin Anglin was right on my mind today.
No, not Kevin. Not Kevin.
Could you imagine the Braves? The Braves have
The Braves have traded NBA boys basketball coach Kevin Anglin.
and he gets the call.
Yeah. Kevin's like, dude, I'm not going to do y'all any good.
I can't help you.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know how much Chris can help either, but hey, here we are.
Well, and I guess there was some question in some camps about how much Robbie Grossman could help the Braves, but he's going to come in strictly as a platoon guy in left field with Rosario, and apparently he kills lefties. His 205 overall batting average notwithstanding. So.
Yeah, well, again, 195, Mo. Just remember that number, 195. Because
Okay.
that's what Jorge Soler was hitting when he was traded to the Braves last year.
Oh, so you're trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice, huh?
For his career, he has a 796 OPS against left-handers with a 281 average and 21 homers. So, honestly, if he's gonna if we need a platoon guy, he sounds like a decent one to get. I mean, I'll take 281. If he hits 281 against left-handers while platooning for the Braves, I'll probably take that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not not upset here at all by the moves made by Alex Anthopoulos. But then again, how can you be upset with anything Alex Anthopoulos does?
Ever at this point.
At this point, how do you can't do anything? So you've gotten rid of Will Smith, which is really your
in and of itself.
Again, addition by subtraction, right?
Yeah.
So
seriously, I mean, if we had gotten a box of baseballs to replace the ones that he's watched fly out, we'd have been ahead of the game. To actually get a real live major league pitcher with a winning record this year. Yeah.
Which, by the way, the Braves need.
Well, they specifically need, as we were talking yesterday about this 4-day, 5-game series coming up against the Mets. Got an extra arm.
You've got that extra arm and a guy who can go long, obviously he's a starter. So right now your rotation sits with Fried, Wright, Strider, and I put them in that order because I feel like that's your 1, 2, 3 guys right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Ian Anderson and Charlie Morton, who have been hit or miss, but can give you really good starts. They've done it before. I mean, heck, Ian Anderson and Charlie Morton both had shutouts going into the 5th inning in their last 2 outings. Now, of course, Charlie gave up 4 or 5?
When the wheels fall off for Charlie, all 4 of them fall off at once, it feels like. But I'll tell you,
with Ian Anderson, though.
Yeah, but the thing about Odorizzi that shouldn't be overlooked is, as Spencer Strider is coming up on, a career high for innings pitched, if he hasn't already crossed that, you got to be a little bit more judicious with him coming down this stretch, particularly if you're looking for him to be a factor in the postseason. So this 100%. Might give you an opportunity to back him off a little bit.
Let me ask you this. Do you put Odorizzi into that 3rd spot and move Strider to the bullpen just to save him?
I don't know if you do that. I don't know if you maybe piggyback them some.
Just kind of let him work as an open. I mean,
I think maybe you run Strider out there maybe for one time through the order, bring Odorizzi behind him. I think they're going to have to really be creative to keep Strider in stride for the postseason and also get Odorizzi his work.
Yeah, I don't,
because I think really those are the 2 guys that are kind of going to be, to me, in tandem, unless you decide to send Anderson to Gwinnett.
There you go.
And the thing is, given his last start, you can't do anything with him right now either.
Yeah, I mean, again, they've kind of got they've got a good problem, I guess is the best way to put it. It's a good problem when you can get what you get. You're hoping that you get playoff Ian Anderson when August and September hit. You're hoping that you get playoff Charlie Morton when August and September hit. You hope that Spencer Strider is able to stick around. Odorizzi was obviously a key factor in the Astros getting to the World Series last year. So, this is a very solid starting rotation, but you also have to worry about, do you go 6-man? Might as well go 6-man if you need to. It's very possible. No more bullpen games. If nothing else, no more bullpen games.
Sure, because you got 6 starters.
There you go. All right, tell us what happened this day in Braves history, Mo.
On August 2nd, 1959, Bill Bruton hits a pair of bases-loaded triples to spark an 11-5 win for Milwaukee over visiting St. Louis. In the first, Bruton drove in Hank Aaron, Joe Adcock, and Andy Pafko to give the team a 4-0 lead. Then in the 6th, he drove those 3 in yet again to extend a 7-3 cushion. The same 3 guys, yeah.
That's amazing.
Lou Burdett goes the distance to improve to 15-10 on the year with the victory.
Wow. There you go. That
2 bases loaded triples. How often do you see that?
How often do you see 2 triples in a game? Much less bases loaded triples.
With the same 3 guys.
With the same 3 guys on. It's like deja vu all over again.
Right. Yeah. Where's Yogi Berra when you need him, right? Yeah.
There you go. That's this day in Braves history. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we piggyback off of what we heard earlier from
Eric Henry.
Yes, Eric Henry, and we
not to be confused with Derrick Henry.
Well, or Eric Hosmer. We've talked about quite a bit today. I almost said that. That's why I had to pause. I was like,
"Oh, okay."
Can't say Eric. No, piggyback off of what we heard from Eric Henry, and we talked to the voice of the Blue Raiders, Chip Walters. So stick around. Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint, is back after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org, or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call at 931-388-5731 and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net. That was weird. Very weird. All good. We're back here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. There's Mo. Mo, what's up?
Here I am.
Found you.
Yeah.
You're right there.
Were you worried?
I was not. I could see you.
I
was, so I knew that you didn't have your headphones on. I was like, Mo doesn't have his headphones on, so he has no idea that I'm talking to him right now, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Looking forward to this next segment, as we do each and every week, talking with the voice of the Blue Raiders, Mr. Chip Walters. Chip, what's going on, buddy?
The Gun Show Tuesday?
Hey, it can be. I mean, I'm all for it, man. Let's do it.
Well, you got off to an earlier start with it with our guest from FIU. So
we did, in fact, get off an earlier start.
He was really great. Yeah, great. Really good info from him today.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that kind of look across Conference USA, and to kind of narrow things down a little bit. Hopefully you can help us with that. He mentioned, and I know it's early, and are your guys even on the field yet? What's going on with MTSU football right now?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
camp opens tomorrow morning. They do have a couple of scrimmages scheduled. I think 13th and 19th, but other than that, it'll be just basically, scrimmaging at the end of practice for a period or two, things like that. But, the knowns are interesting, and the unknowns are also interesting, and those were brought up. Sam Doughton did a really nice column the other day about the 5 things that he was looking for, because apparently that's the law. You have to write a column that says 5 things somewhere along the way. But
you said that, not me, sir.
So, but anyway, talks about the quarterback competition, which there's not many in the league, or that are going to bring back 2 quarterbacks that both have started. And so there's something to be said for that. Are they bringing in a guy who started at Texas Tech? No, but Chase Cunningham was off to a great start last year after getting the reins from when Bailey Hockman left the ball club. And then Nick Vattiato, once Chase got hurt, just kept getting better and better. Nick got thrown in there at Western against Bailey Zappi's offense, and that was his first outing, and got better and better, and ended up being the MVP of the Bahamas Bowl. So, that is going to be interesting. And you've got the young man from West Tennessee, Kyle Lowe, who's coming in, that gives you a different dimension with his legs. You've got a different offensive coordinator, Mitch Stewart, more of the air raid type offense. So that's going to be interesting to watch that develop. You've got a full array of receivers that are back from a year ago. You've got 8 new offensive linemen and a total of 20 offensive linemen in the program right now. And the ones that they brought in, the new ones, are large children. They are very big. And that's, I think, with an air raid offense, they feel like they need to be able to protect, but also, the continued question about the run game. You had last year, you had a transfer from Florida State and a transfer from West Virginia that had both sat out 2020 and never really got things going like they wanted. Now this year, you've got another back from West Virginia. You've got one from Kansas State, who they're very high on, and another running back coming in from Central Michigan. So that's got a good feel to it, and then, defensively, just like he said, Greg Great and Reed Blankenship are gone, but Jordan Ferguson is your leader and your anchor up front on a defensive line that is fully intact from a year ago. And Jordan Ferguson is on the watch list for every award there is out there, and couldn't happen to a better guy. And, but you've got to replace a really good linebacker and 2 good defensive backs. So, there obviously a lot of things will happen and unfold and reveal themselves as the month of August continues.
Chip Walters, voice of the Blue Raiders, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chip, what year is Chase Cunningham?
Boy, that's a great question here.
Well, the reason I ask is because I just looked at the roster and I thought it said senior, but I'm looking at Sam's column and it says redshirt sophomore, and it kind of impacts the question that I was getting ready to ask you, to be honest.
Yeah, Chase Cunningham, here he's listed as a redshirt senior, and I think that's the case. I think that because he's been around.
It is too. He's been around since Hector was a pup, as Ed Given would say. So
that's right.
Well, he started. Yeah, he came in 17, where he took a red shirt year.
Yeah, this is going to be like he's not quite as old as DeAndre Dishman, but he's getting a little gray in the temples.
He's not quite as old as the coaches yet, huh?
Not quite.
But my question though, Chip, is when you take those 2 guys, Chase Cunningham, who again has been on campus forever, Nick Vattiato, who showed you some really good stuff when he did get on the field last year as a freshman. If they're even, isn't it the guy that you're going to have around the longest?
That's why we're not coaching. The and I guess there's a level of comfort that, and I've never understood exactly how two quarterbacks can be exactly even, and because there's always a little difference somewhere, and a lot of it it comes down to, I mean, we can all look at, okay, here's the scrimmage numbers, this, that, and whatever, but at the end of the day, it's going to be whoever Mitch Stewart trusts the most to put out there, and whoever Rick Stockstill trusts the most to put out there, who in addition to who's the healthiest, and is somebody gonna, because I promise you, I've been around Rick Stockstill now. This will be the 17th preseason, and you can ask him till you're blue in the face who's your starter going to be when starting tomorrow at fall camp. You'll find out sometime the week of the opening ball game, which that's fine. That's his prerogative, and I don't blame him one bit, because these two guys are very even. They both have a little bit different skill set, and why give something away when you don't have to?
Absolutely. I mean, as long as you know, and as probably ideally as long as they know, it's really all that matters. So
that's correct. I mean, and I think sometimes you'll see fans and they'll say, well, he hadn't named a starter yet and blah, 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 blah. And getting all uptight. But I promise you, inside that quarterback room, they have a much clearer picture of what's going on than people who might be on Twitter. So
who might be on Twitter.
Depending on who those people are, maybe. But yeah.
Chase is coming off of a knee injury too, though, Mo. And that I mean, you got to really, that was a late year injury. So I don't know.
That was I think an October injury, and let's say they were even coming out, if you before Chase's injury and Nick after the bowl game, well, Nick got a whole lot of reps in the spring. So does that give him an advantage? It's it'll play itself out, but it does make for good fodder this time of year.
Absolutely. Sure. And again, as you mentioned, this
but what's the other phrase? If you have two quarterbacks, you have how many?
None.
so I think somebody will rise to the top. I really do. And it'll be interesting to see how they deal with Kyle Lowe this year, because he's a real talent. And do they, in the age of the transfer portal, I mean, you don't worry about redshirting guys like you used to, unless everybody is totally on board with it. The player, the coach, the family, all of that. So, he's such a good athlete. He might start getting reps on special teams, things like that.
And the thing is, even if they're on board with it now, it doesn't mean they won't be on board with it later. So, I mean, staying on board once they're on board. I'm not going to rail against the transfer portal, but at the same time, as I'm looking here at MTSU's top 3 running backs, I wondered, do they have any that they signed out of high school?
Boy, that's a good question. And and I think there are, and I don't have a depth chart right in front of me, but I think there's a couple of guys who are still returning. Shaton Mobley is not one of those who are returning, but Frank Pizant should be back, who had some good moments from a year ago. Really liked him. And, I'm kind of an old closet Dallas Cowboy fan. And if I'm correct, Pizant went to the same high school as Emmitt Smith down on the Gulf Coast. And if bloodlines or geography means anything, he's got a shot, and he runs with some passion, and you like that.
Runs angry, huh?
Runs a little angry.
Out of Escambia High School in Pensacola.
There you go.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah, Frank Pizant, a transfer, as you mentioned, Chip, from is he from West Virginia?
No. Pizant was a high school kid.
Was he? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Joe Irvin is the Kansas State transfer. Avarius Sparrow
is from West Virginia.
And I don't know the kid's name from Central Michigan, but Coach Stockstill, when we were in Manchester for the Blue Raider Blitz the other day, mentioned a running back from Central Michigan, and my head snapped around a little bit because I had not heard of that one. So
threw one in on you. Huh?
That's right, but that's not unusual. So
Chip Walters, the voice of the Blue Raiders, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today. Chris, I'm sorry I cut you off.
If it makes you feel any better, Terry Wilkins out of Memphis, Fairleigh High School, did sign as a freshman in 2020, redshirted, and ran for 5 yards against FIU last year.
Wow. Okay.
So there you go. That's the only one out of high school. Now they did sign a kid out of a JUCO that didn't come from the portal, but that's exactly what's happening right now. And that's the thing is, it's even if you can get kids to agree, like you said, Mo, to a red shirt, and at least if you red shirt a kid, you're saying, listen, you're my guy for the future, right? So you kind of, perhaps you can spin it that way anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know how you have to spin it these days. It's rough.
Scrolling through the roster here, I do come across one name that I am intrigued by. Former Fairview High School standout Darius James, who began his collegiate career out at Dodge City Community College out in Kansas. He is listed as a redshirt senior at this point, and I'm not sure where he fits on the depth chart or on the field for the Raiders, but this kid was electric out at Fairview when he played. I think he was a Mr. Football finalist and an all-stater, and played for offensive coordinator Nolan Genovese, who played at CPA and at Middle. So
and who's now coaching out, I think, at Dodge City Junior College.
Is he the head coach out there now?
No, I think he's the offensive coordinator.
Well, that's where he played. That's where Darius played for him. So
exactly, you start putting the dots together, and that's where that worked out. And I think Nolan was in town this past weekend for a wedding or something. But I heard y'all were talking about running backs and Itavius Mathers. Itavius is on the staff this year as a GA, working with running backs. So that's I think that's a good add for the coaching staff on the offensive side.
Oh, without question, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
He can definitely tell those guys what to do and how to do it because he's done it. So that'll be a great point, like you said.
Chip, before we let you go, I want to mention real quick, I did see on the website a fan committee you guys are putting together to kind of talk about the fan experience over at Middle.
Well, I mean, I'm not involved in that, but yes, and I had that up clicked up. I wanted to make mention of that, but they're taking applications. If you go on to goblueraiders.com, there's an article. I think it's the top story right now on the website, and they want fans to be on this committee that are willing to, give feedback after games, put in, prior to the season, make suggestions on the front end, and then on the back end to see how things work, give feedback, do maybe some secret shopping kind of stuff. And it's all to where everybody wants the best experience, but it does give the fans an added voice into it this year. And that's for, season ticket holders, BRAA members are certainly encouraged, but if you're a ticket holder of any kind and come, and they want students involved in this as well. So just to make the game day experiences, whether it's at Floyd Stadium, Murphy Center, or at Reese Smith Field, those ticketed venues, they want to make it as good as possible and get, find out, what the folks want and how to go about the right way of doing it. So that's something that's interesting.
What they want.
By the way, Chip, Genovese is now receivers coach, and passing game coordinator at Presbyterian College. The Blue Hose.
Okay, there he goes. He's one of the Blue Hose.
The Blue Hose.
Yeah.
HOSE.
Yes, HOSE. Yeah, exactly.
Chip, as always, a pleasure. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Looking forward to talking to you throughout the season.
All right. We'll maybe next week hopefully have a little feedback on the first few days of practice. So talk to you then.
We'll look forward to it. All right. When we come back, it's going to be Top 5 Tuesday, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness. So we'll get to that. Top 5 most impactful suspensions in pro sports histories right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Back after this.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. There he is. What's up, Justin?
How's it going, fellas?
Look at that guy.
How's it going? How are y'all?
It's going. It's Tuesday, and we're in our final segment, so that's the best part because it's now Top 5 Tuesday, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness. And you can call Thalys Steele. Give him a shout. I'm going to cover my face up here momentarily. 931-215-5933. Hey, there I am. Look at there. SteelAthletes.com or at SteelAthletes on Twitter. I'm seeing on Instagram and Facebook at Steel Athletes, as you see there, no STEEL athletes.com. Check them out. All right.
I think we just need to leave that up.
It actually is much more aesthetically pleasing. Certainly.
Really brings out your eyes.
I look like I'm like Wilson from Home Improvement.
There we go.
Yeah, just looking over the fence there.
There we go.
We'll let you over the fence. Go on.
Oh man, let's talk about the top 5 most impactful suspensions in pro sports history.
Now, do we need to remind people where this is coming from?
As Deshaun Watson's
go
suspension was handed down, and that's what I have in my tweet here, is what are some of the other most impactful suspensions in pro sports history? We will start with number 5, and since you're the new guy, Justin, that means you have to go first.
All right, so not to be an overshooter here, but I loaded in a video of the suspension.
Oh, this guy.
I'm going to try hard. I'm sorry. But it's 60 seconds, about 60 seconds, and it's against the Predators. Well, not really against the Predators. It was during a Predators game. Dennis Weidman hit a ref.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Played for Calgary. They were playing against the Predators, and it was by the Predators bench. And it's pretty crazy.
Let's see, because it was crazy.
Yes, just some, I guess, advisory for the watchers here, but here we go.
And then the linesman down at center ice. There was a collision there between one of the Flames. And Don Henderson is down, getting slowly back up to his feet. So looks like he's going to be okay. Dennis Weidman looks a little shaken up as well, Kelly.
Salomaki, and then he is banged up. He's going to try and make his way to the bench. And there's the collision with Don Henderson. He doesn't even see the linesman. I think Peter Laviolette is calling for a call. He's talking to the linesman right now.
No. So Weidman was clearly woozy after that hit in the corner.
Absolutely.
See, that's basically it. Ooh, got him on that camera.
He did that on purpose.
Oh, I know.
Oh yeah, no
They reviewed
question.
it. It says they reviewed it like many times, and they gave him a 20-game suspension for it, and $10 million. I mean, they said it was $10 million worth of fines over time, which is crazy, but that's what it said. So
that's wild. Well, my number 5 is Trevor Bauer. Obviously, I think that it had a huge impact on the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series last year because, that the pitching staff for the Dodgers was struggling by the end of that NLCS. And had they had Bauer, I think it probably would have been struggling a little less.
My number 5, and I'm not sure how impactful it was necessarily, but it kind of got your attention at the time. Gilbert Arenas, when he brought a gun into the arena as a member of the Washington, whatever they were at that time. Yeah, huh?
They were the Bullets.
They were the Bullets at that time. That's right. Okay. Right at Christmas of 2009, and I think he was suspended for the rest of the year. So that was like 61 games. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Number 4, Justin.
I will go with Michael Vick suspension.
Oh yeah,
that should probably be higher. But, right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know at the time. I guess I was a little young, but I don't know who they had else other than him. But I'm pretty sure Michael Vick was the guy for that team.
I think they drafted Matt Ryan to back him up, and then boom, he kind of got thrown in a little earlier than he expected.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, he thrived though. I love Matty Ice. I think he's awesome. He's probably gonna do good at the Colts, to be honest.
Hey, I hope not.
Yeah,
and not too good. Yeah.
My number 4 comes from 1946 in the New York Football Giants. Frank Filchok and running back Merle Hapes were banned from the NFL for life after they were found guilty of taking bribes and planning to fix the 46 championship game against the Giants and the Bears. So
Bears.
It's pretty big impact there when, you think about, the game wasn't fixed.
They got it. Nice.
My number 4, and who among us hasn't wanted to strangle a manager at some point in time? Latrell Sprewell actually did it as a member of the Golden State Warriors, choking PJ Carlesimo on December 4th, 1997, and getting suspended for the rest of the year. Former Alabama standout.
So I'm going to skip you, Justin, because that's my number 3.
Is it?
But I'm going to go back. We'll go back to you here in just a second. But the reason, so that's my number 3. And the reason I had that is because he didn't initially get suspended for the season, Mo. He was only suspended for 10 games. And the public backlash.
I think that's about right, actually.
The public backlash from him only getting 10 games is why he got the full season. And so it was the first time that, kind of the public had a hand in, in forcing a pro sports organization's hand.
And again, this was in 1997. I mean, what if this happens in this day?
Oh gosh,
Twitter, Twitter, and it would have blown up. Would have absolutely blown up. Yeah.
So I think the impact was huge, Mo. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
sorry, Justin, you're number 3. I'll let you go now.
You're good. That was definitely a good interjection for sure.
I'm gonna let you talk, but I'm gonna let you finish. Yeah.
My number 3 is a throwback, of course, but Randy Moss in high school when he got in that fight. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not pro sports, but
that's
fine. We'll take it.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good. And I would kind of pair with that. This was a non-pro suspension as well, but Allen Iverson and his dust up at that bowling alley up in
same town as Michael Vick, right? From
yes, actually,
it's crazy.
Yeah. So a lot going on up there in Northern Virginia. My number 3. I'm not sure how much of an impact it was, but Art Schleister, when he was with the Indianapolis Colts, getting suspended for gambling, a la Calvin Ridley.
Okay, so here's the impact. If he's a number 4 pick, right? If he's not, gambling and God knows what else, and he actually works out, The Colts don't draft Elway.
And who does? And
Right.
and Elway doesn't
what
get traded to
happens?
Denver.
Potentially. So the long-term impact of that suspension.
Oh wow.
Think about that.
There's a 30 for 30 for you right there. What if Art Schlichter doesn't get into all that trouble? What
Right.
Yeah. That's interesting, Chris. Good call there.
Not bad.
So we've got everybody's number 3s. We're to number
We
2,
have
right?
number 2, Justin.
Number 2. For me, it's got to be, and I know we talked a little bit off air yesterday about it, but the Deflategate, Tom Brady, just having, I mean, it definitely launched, in my opinion, Garoppolo's career at the time, but I mean, they just weren't the same people without TV.
No.
Those 8 games, was it?
6 games.
6. Yeah.
My number 2 is Pete Rose.
Oh, that was my number 1.
Oh, well. Yeah, Pete Rose, suspended for life. Banned forever.
On something we get, like, there's an official sponsor of gambling for the MLB.
It's kind of nuts. My number 2 is Ron Artest. 86 games for Malice in the Palace back in 04.
Did you remember? I know you'd probably remember this, Justin. Well, I don't know. You're kind of young. Mighty Ducks, D2 Mighty Ducks. 2 minutes, worth it. 86 games, worth it.
There you go.
I actually played ice hockey for about 9 years. Centennial Sportsplex in Nashville.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like young, and then they started checking, and I was out.
And you're no good. I'm out on this.
Like, wait,
I don't blame you. You didn't check any refs, though, did you?
No, I didn't.
There you go.
There you go.
Bigger than me too. So.
All right, your number 1, you said, was Pete Rose.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it was. I just think that's crazy. Like, I have one of my best friends is really into baseball. Like, coaches it, and so I mean, he just like every time he gets a chance to talk, he'll talk about this. So I just know a lot about it, I guess.
I'm not a big Pete Rose fan, but I mean, what has taken place as far as that goes to me is a little bothersome, just from the standpoint that, he bet baseball as a manager. I still think he should be in the Hall of Fame as a player. That's just me.
Agreed. But, yeah. Didn't he bet on his own team right to win? It was that, right?
I'm not sure of all the details as far as that goes. That sounds right.
Gotcha.
But
right.
Yeah, it's a little nuts to me. Chris, what's your number 1?
Number 1, also banned for life, Joe Jackson and the Black Sox.
Oh, good one.
Shoeless Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, it impacted the entire 1919 World Series. So
yeah, no doubt. My number 1 is Muhammad Ali. His 3-year ban from boxing for refusing to be inducted into the U.S. Army. And what did he lose as a result of that in terms of earning potential and that kind of thing, even at that time? So
what did he lose, but what did he cause? And to me, I think the positive far outweighed, the positive in the world and in the eyes of, the draft and that sort of thing, far outweighed any cost that he lost. And I think he would tell you that.
I'm sure you're right. That's great insight.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it was when you have guys like Muhammad Ali step up and say, no, this isn't right.
Right.
And I'm not taking part in it. I think that really, it impacted the entire country. It really did. So I'm with you, man. That's probably one of the more impactful. And I don't know why I didn't have that one on my list. Absolutely should have been. Absolutely should have been.
You won.
Well, we have far ran over our time today, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yes.
It happens on Tuesday sometimes. So it's all right. We will be back tomorrow at 2:00, and we'll have Heather Williams talking NASCAR. Did you secure Anwar?
Did not.
Yet?
Did
Okay,
not
secured Anwar Richardson yet, but we'll have Anwar at some point, hopefully in the near future, talking a little Big 12 football. If not Anwar, we'll have somebody tomorrow. I promise you that.
Oh, absolutely.
Y'all come back with us. That was Top 5 Tuesday, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness and stillathletes.com, at stillathletes on Instagram. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We're going to head on out. We'll see you guys tomorrow on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint.